Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Victoria Online. It's lovely to have you here with us today, and a happy Thanksgiving to each one of you. If you are not able to join us in person on Sundays, it's always good to see you here online. But if you would like to join us in person, we are in the Cook Street Village Activity Center on Cook Street in downtown Victoria, and we'd be very happy to welcome you there. So today, I want to talk about Thanksgiving, and my title is The Greatest Prayer of All. I've been thinking a lot this week about the many blessings in my own life and remembering Thanksgivings past, because for many years I was traveling with my work, and it took me to many parts of the globe, which was a wonderful blessing in itself. But when it came Thanksgiving, that was the time that I always wanted to be at home. It was family time, and there was something that just drew me there. And it was a heart thing. It was about that gathering of family in the fall. It's about autumn. It's about change. It's about getting ready for winter. All of those things, but more than anything, it's about being around hearth and home. And so that was always really important to me. And now my family has grown and spread out all over the place. So we're not always together at Thanksgiving or at any other time of the year. We make our visits when we can. But I realize that also along the way I have accumulated another family, my spiritual family, and I'm really grateful for that. And so, as I've been thinking about these things the past week, I've been just one by one going over those lovely faces, some of them yours who might be watching this today, and being grateful for you, being grateful for the gift that you are in my life. And also, as I was wandering around um, downtown Sydney on Saturday, I noticed that so many people were wishing one another a happy Thanksgiving, and they were going out of their way to pop their heads in the doors of shops and just shouting happy Thanksgiving to friends and smiling at one another in the streets and doing the same thing. And isn't it wonderful when we have these special occasions in our lives that lift us up? There is something about them that make us really want to celebrate, and we want to share that celebration with others. And certainly this year, I think more than any other time in our lives, we need to be counting our blessings and really looking at the things that do make us happy and to be considering those things along the way. And I want to read to you today something that I really love um, that I've been reflecting upon, and it's written by Khalil Gibran, and it's in The Prophet. Then a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. How else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain." Isn't that a wonderful thing to think about? The deeper our well of sadness and sorrow, the greater the vessel, the deeper the vessel within us in which we can contain our joy. It's not the cup that holds your wine. Is it not the very cup that was burned in a potter's oven? And is it not the lute that soothes your spirit, the very wood that was hollowed out with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is also giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again into your heart, and you will find it is only that which has given you this. Sorry, I messed that one up. Let's start that line again. When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. And when you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Think about that. When we're sorrowful, we're weeping for that which has given us joy in the past. Some say joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, oh no, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, And when one sits alone with you at your table, remember that the other is asleep on your bed. I love that line. I'm going to read it to you again. Together they come, joy and sorrow. Together they come. And when one sits alone with you at your table, remember that the other is asleep in your bed. So, what do joy and sorrow have to do with Thanksgiving? I think for all of us, it's a time for reflection. It's a time for going within. It's a time for remembering the good times and the not so good times, the times of sorrow. Sorrow for those we've lost that we've loved along the way. And looking at all of the many, many blessings and recognizing that everyone who's come into our life, no matter for what reason, no matter what role they've played in our lives. What is that lovely Flavia card? Some people come into our lives for a day, some for a season, and some for a lifetime, or they leave footprints in our hearts for a lifetime. We can look at all of the people along the way, and whether we connect them with joy or sorrow, we can find gifts and things that we have learned from them, learned from our experiences, and we can also find the joy in the friendships we've shared and the love that we've shared with one another. And so I think it's an important time to really look at that and to remember that joy and sorrow do have a connection, and that when we rise up in that vessel, when we allow our joy to rise up in that vessel, when we're in a place of thanksgiving, in a place of gratitude, that everything in our lives looks a lot better, feels a lot better to us. It's not about looking for the bad. We're not looking over the shoulder for the bad. If we're thinking that, if that either joy or sorrow is over there in the bed, sleeping for now, we're not waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're not waiting for something bad to happen to us. That's not what that's about. It's about acceptance. It's about accepting that in life we go through many different experiences. And as we mature and as we grow in spiritual consciousness, we more readily find the gifts in all of the things that we have experienced in our lives. There are so many things to be grateful for, and there are some simple things that we can practice. And I have a list of 9 simple things that we can practice that make a difference in our lives. And one of them is keeping a gratitude journal. I often say to people, last thing at night before you go to sleep, think of 3 things today that have given you joy, 3 blessings, 3 things for which you're grateful. Or do it in the morning upon arising, and it might just even be thank you for this day, thank you for life, thank you for letting me wake up for another day. But let us search our hearts for those things, and it is so easy for us to perhaps forget those things that have been blessings to us during the day. And so when we make a conscious effort to remember them, we're creating something joyful in our lives. And it's great to write them down, whether it's in a journal or some other way. For me, I have this beautiful heart-shaped box that is quite deep, and I buy heart-shaped Post-it notes. And whenever something wonderful happens, something for which I'm grateful, I just make a note on one of those hearts and I drop it into my heart-shaped box. And then every once in a while I open it up and I take out a few of them and look at them. And at each new year, I go through the entire box and just look at all of the many blessings in my life and count them. And there is such joy that rises up when I do that, when I recognize that the abundance in my life is extraordinary. And, and we know abundance isn't all about money. We may think that it is, but it's not. Abundance is about, having love in our lives, about having deep friendships, connection. It's about our spiritual connection with the divine. And so, let us every day take some time to do that. You'll find that life just gets better and better, and that your spirits are better and better. And it certainly is a time when we can use that. As we're going into winter, as we're going into different shades of the pandemic that we've been experiencing, let us do all that we can to lift our spirits and to count our blessings. And the second thing on my list is to pay it forward. You know, whatever the blessing might be, let us pay it forward. Let us do it for someone else. It might be service. It might be that you're at our center on Sundays and that you're a volunteer, or you're not a volunteer, but you see that other people are. And so you can pay it forward by volunteering in your own life, volunteering either at our center or somewhere else, volunteering to do something for a neighbor, to go shopping for an elderly person who maybe can't get out, or, the old fashioned thing of baking a pie for somebody who's just a little under the weather, paying it forward. I remember, I think it was about a year ago, that all of a sudden there was this movement to pay things forward at, I believe it was a Tim Hortons drive-through, where somebody went through and paid for coffee for the people who were coming up behind them. And then what happened is everybody that day did the same thing. And the people at Tim Hortons said they had never seen anything like it before. And I remember having that experience myself once in a Starbucks. It was around Christmas time, and I was behind another woman in line, a Muslim woman who was wearing a hijab, and she was paying for some coffee, and she didn't have enough money. And she said, "Oh my, I have a friend coming soon. I'll pay for it then." And I said, "No, no, no. Here, let me help." I mean, it was only an extra dollar or something like that. It wasn't anything extraordinary. And she said, "Oh no, no, I couldn't let you do that." And I said, "No, please, it would be my pleasure to do that." And she said, "I'll pay you back." And I said, "No, I don't want to be paid back." I said, "Pay it forward." And she said, "What?" And I said, "Do the same thing for somebody else sometime when they need it." Anyway, I placed my order, and it was late in the day, but I hadn't had dinner, so I ordered a sandwich and I think some salad and tea probably. And I don't remember what the bill was. It was probably $13. And the cashier said to me, "We just saw what you did for that woman, and we're buying your dinner tonight." And I just teared up. The most unexpected times and happening so suddenly. But it is such an example of how when we just do some simple little thing, that it comes round again to us and it blesses us in the process. So let's think more about paying things forward and create a top 10 list of things for which you are most grateful. Whatever those 10 things are. Could be for family, could be for friends, could be for shelter, could be for having enough food on the table, certainly for health, if we have good health. There are so many things that we can be thankful for. Let's create that list of 10 things and connect with nature. These days, these autumn days, as the leaves are just starting to turn, and we still have blue sky and sunshine. And to me, it's always kind of a bittersweet time because I know that winter is coming. And I so much appreciate the blue skies and sunshine, and so much appreciate the flowers that are still blooming, and so much appreciate the colors in the trees. You know, just being in nature, walking in nature, putting your hand on the trunk of a tree and experiencing that energetic lift that you get from doing that. Let us bless ourselves by being out in nature, and let's keep that on our list and express our appreciation. How often do we forget to do that? Somebody does something for us and we just say, "Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you." But instead, really thinking about what it means to us and really expressing that. Perhaps dropping the person a note, a handwritten note, not an email, saying, "What you did for me today was something that I just appreciate so much, and I appreciate you so much." I remember one time at Christmas writing letters to members of my family, to my daughter, to my son-in-law, to my grandchildren, telling them all how much they meant to me, how much I loved them, and why I loved them so much. My son-in-law was in tears. He said no one had ever done that for him before. It's such a simple gesture, and it's a loving thing to do, and it makes the other person feel so loved and appreciated. We never know how much we're affecting somebody else's life until we do something like that. Honor our ancestors. Be grateful for them. Be grateful for lessons learned. If life wasn't so good when you were a child, then look at the gifts that it gave you. I mean, I look at I look at mine, which wasn't so good, and I'm grateful because it made me so independent. It made me self-reliant. I knew that I could count on myself to get things done, even when I was a little girl, very, very young. I discovered I could do all kinds of things that I didn't know I could do because I didn't have anybody telling me I couldn't. So let us look at our ancestors and honor them, no matter what our experience may have been. And you know what? You can pray to them too. Their spirits are on the other side, and they're all around us. They're not somewhere up there far away. They're all around us. They're right in front of us. They're there in the invisible. Ask them to walk with you. Ask them to talk to you. Ask them to help you with whatever you need help with along the way. You know, a friend once said to me, they haven't got anything else to do. They're just sitting around playing cards. You know, give them something to do where they can really help you in your life now. And I love that. It made me laugh at the time. It makes me laugh again now. But pray, pray to your ancestors. Be grateful for where you live. Huh. I'm grateful I live in Canada right now. I'm sure that all of you are as well. Extend gratitude to all you meet. Just look somebody in the eye and say, thank you. I'm very grateful. Very grateful for the gift that you are in my life. I'm very grateful for what you just did for me today. And develop your own guide, your own prayer, or your own creed that you believe in. Write it down. What is it that I believe? What is it I'm grateful for? And post it somewhere where I can see it every day as a reminder. And finally, go to bed with a smile on your face. You know what? When we smile, it makes us feel so much better. It may seem too tough sometimes, but put a smile on your face and go to sleep that way. And wake up in the morning and paste another smile on your face, no matter how you're feeling. And you'll find that you get lifted up during the day. It's an important thing to remember, and it's such a simple little thing. But you'll actually feel the difference in your body when you do it and when you maintain it for a while during the day. There's so many gifts from every day. There's so many things to be grateful for. I was looking at yesterday in my life and the things that I was grateful for last night before I went to bed. I was grateful that one of my daughters gave me a long phone call yesterday. We had a good chat about what was going on in her life and things that needed to be done in the future. And that connection is so deep and so wonderful. And then I had a loving text from my grandson who lives in Montreal, quite far away. And it was just wonderful just to have a few lines from him, knowing that for a moment he was thinking about me. And then I had a text from a friend in the States. He lives in Indiana, a wonderful friend, one of my dearest friends on earth. And he was setting up a Zoom call so that we could have a visit because, not being able to get together during these times has been difficult. And so when we can get together on Zoom and actually see one another and speak to one another and have a visit, have a cup of tea or coffee or a glass of wine. Some of my friends get together for happy hour at 5 o'clock every day on Zoom. There are innovative things that we can do that are great blessings in our lives. And I had just written my notes of gratitude last night, and I heard my computer ding that there was a message, and so I went online to see what it was, and someone had left me a message. Well, she hadn't left me a message. Actually, somebody who lives somewhere else had watched my video online and sent me a gift of $50. And then she said, it's for you, for you to do something nice for yourself with. And I thought, what a lovely thing to do. People don't have to do that kind of thing. And she's a dear friend. And I thought, what a sweet gesture. To say thank you, to know that I can go and do something special with her gift to me. And so that went into my gratitude box last night as well. The gifts just keep on coming. And one thing yesterday that I was especially happy about was I went and had an oil change in my car. And as the servicemen were checking everything with my car, they said, "Oh, your reverse light is burned out. You need to have a new one put in. It's only $14." And I said, "Fine." So anyway, it took them quite a bit of time with my car to get that light in. And I thought maybe they were going to charge me for labor, but they didn't. I just paid for the oil change and $14 for the light. If I had taken my car in somewhere to have the light replaced, I'm sure the bill would have been a lot higher than that. I just say thank you, God, for all of the blessings in my life. Those are the kinds of things we need to remember, that, uh, during good times and during times that are kind of tough, we really need to record these things so that they're ever there for us to look back on. But also, it becomes a habit to be grateful. And when we're living in gratitude, our lives just work a whole lot better. And we also have to find a way to be grateful for the hard stuff, knowing that the hard stuff can lead us into better places. There's a story that I particularly love about a family that really experienced hard stuff. They had a little boy. He was 4 years old. He was born with a birth defect in his heart. He had had multiple heart surgeries. The doctors said he had an IQ of only 56. They said that he would never walk, he would never talk, he would never read or write or be like other children. He was still in hospital, and the doctors recommended to the parents that they put their little boy in an institution, that he would just be a hardship for them throughout their lives. And they were crestfallen and heartbroken. And they took their little boy outside of the hospital in a wagon. And they took him out, and they sat on a bench, and he just sat there in the wagon, and the sun was shining. And they saw him lift his face up to the sun and smile. And then a breeze went through his hair, and he kept smiling. And that was the deciding factor for them. They decided at that moment that that little boy of theirs was not going into an institution. He was going home with them. And they took him home. And 4 years later, when he was 8 years old, he was chasing his little sisters and the cat around the house. He was reading at a grade 1 level. He was talking and laughing, and just an absolutely normal, wonderful child in every way. And his parents said, at one time, we used to worry about buying stuff. At one time, we used to worry about getting a raise in pay. At one time, we used to think, oh, we had to upgrade our house in some way. And they said, now we are just so grateful for the sun on our faces and the wind in our hair. Isn't that an amazing story and a beautiful one? Think about the things that we are grateful for, that, we haven't had to experience that. Maybe some of you have. But making the decision, having that sign, and taking it as a sign, the sun and the wind in your child's hair, making all of the difference in his life and making all of the difference in their lives. What a wonderful story. It isn't easy to be grateful when we're in pain. And nobody is saying that you should be laughing and jumping about and having a good time when you're in a lot of pain. But one of the things that we can know is that joy will come later. That deep well of sorrow that has been created is going to turn into joy in our lives. And we can know that beyond any doubt at all. And gratitude is like a flashlight. If you go outside at night in the dark, you can't see anything, and you turn on the flashlight, and all of a sudden you can see everything that's there. It hadn't gone away. It was always there. It's the same thing in our lives. All of the beauty, all of the love, all of the goodness is always there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's always with us. We just need to shine our own light on it. And when we do that, it makes an extraordinary difference in our lives. And so it is